Welcome to the Careering Podcast, a collection of rants and reckons on all things career, hosted by author and creator of Careering 9, Melissa Davies, and her partner in crime, Kelsie. If you're brave enough, take a seat, settle in and listen as we tackle difficult career and workplace issues. Sometimes we'll be wrong, sometimes we'll be right, but we will deliver it with confidence and a touch of colourful language, so it will at least be entertaining. Welcome back to the Careering Podcast. Thank you for coming back. It's me, Melissa Davies, and my partner in crime, Kelsie. Hello, Kelsie.
Hola. Hello.
How you doing?
I'm tired today. But what's new?
But I think you've got a good reason for being tired this week, though.
Yeah, because I was up late watching the Black Ferns fucking win the Rugby World Cup with you last night, and it was fucking exciting.
It was epic. I'm also very tired today for that same reason. And all the yelling and yahooing and cheering and screaming at the TV.
I think the neighbours might have thought we were a bit nuts.
Yeah. Or the volume, the combined volume of the four of us women screaming our tits off at the TV. Pretty much non-stop for 8 minutes.
Pacing in the background, just going, can't watch it.
So good.
Oh my God, I just can't even, it was a good game. It was such a good game. They played amazingly the whole season, to be honest.
Yeah. It's been great for them to have airtime on all the media channels.
There's like an amazing TikTok of Ruby Tui where she's like saying that the last World Cup no media showed up, and then she changed the camera around. It was like a full media room, everyone waiting to like interview her and wanting to talk about everything, and I was like, fuck yes, this is how it should be.
What about her getting the whole crowd to sing Tu Te Rā Iwi last night?
God, she looked shocked.
Yeah.
She was like, oh my God, there's 45,000 people singing Tu Te Rā Iwi to me.
That was epic when you heard everyone go, oh wait, at the same time. That was so cool. That was so epic.
Yes.
So good reason for being tired, I think.
Yes, very true.
What is your theme for the week?
Look, my theme this week is going to be real simple. My theme is going to be hydration. I bought a 2 litre Frank Green bottle, and it is my emotional support water bottle. And hydration is good for you. It's good for the skin. It's good for the soul. And that's going to be my theme of the week. I'm just going to drink a fuck ton of water.
Yeah, I was about to say, can you clarify what's in there? Because it's not see-through.
It's bubbly water. It doesn't have any vodka in it, I promise you.
You're not at that stage of the year.
Yeah.
Wait till December the 21st.
Yeah. Maybe December the 1st. It doesn't have to be the 20th at this point. And what about you? What's your theme of the week this week?
My theme of the week is community and how important it is. Because
I love that one. It's like, just drink water. And you're like, community.
Mainly because I've been at the New Zealand Agricultural Show all week, and being part of the A&P movement is so epic and so engaging and so fun. And then I sort of look at that, I look at the community that has been formed around the Black Ferns, and I think for a lot of us these last few years with COVID, and also just think societally, we've lost community.
Yeah.
We have these fake communities online, and I'm like, that's not real community and connection. Yet I feel this last week I've been fully immersed in community, and it's actually been really cool on a number of levels, like that ability to contribute, to give back, to meet other people, to hear different perspectives, to see something come to life.
And just engage with new ideas and new humans.
Yeah, it's been really cool. So I'm all about community at the moment.
Okay, well, how are you going to keep this going now that the Rugby World Cup's over and the show's over successfully? After 2 years away, the show has been done.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the challenge, right? Is we all go back into our homes and onto our devices, and we stop sort of reaching out. Although this time of year we don't. This time of year there's invites to all kinds of things.
This time of the year it's fucking party after party, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, what are we talking about this week?
Feelings?
Oh,
you suggested the topic.
I have many of them and none of them are useful. That is my take on feelings. Right, we're done.
Okay, I probably should put a caveat around it, because we are talking about feelings in a professional work career type context.
I maintain my first statement. Many of them and none of them are useful. Sorry, that was derailing. How are we going to talk about it today?
Well, I guess I thought I wouldn't throw you a big curveball question to start with.
But that's how it works.
Yeah. I'm going to surprise you with it later.
Oh, Jesus.
I thought what was really interesting, I would lead in with this article I read from the BBC that I thought was really gave us some really good context for the conversation today. And it said, every office has unspoken social norms around how workers are expected to feel in a given situation and how those feelings should be displayed. They're known as feeling rules and are so ingrained in our social and workplace interactions that we actually really pay close attention to them.
Yeah.
And so when I read that, I was like, oh, it's actually really true. When I was thinking about this topic, I was thinking about individualized feelings, not collective norms, like these social norms around. And I use the example too, like, when someone gets a win, like the sales team signs a big new client, the social norm says you should outwardly show happiness and joy and celebrate. Yeah.
Even if you have no idea what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. Or you're the one that's going to have to do all that work. So you're like, shit. Fuck. Damn. Goodbye to 5 o'clock finishes for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was really interesting. And there is, you're probably all aware that there is a bias around how women display their feelings and how men display their feelings, and anger, sadness and frustration are actually judged more harshly when a woman displays them than a man.
Oh, fuck yeah. I've worked in so many organisations where, like, dudes who can just stomp around and be fucking tyrants with their emotions. But lo and behold, like, if I fucking cry or have a tantrum about anything, the fucking world's ending. Maybe it might be the level of tantrum that I have.
No, I think there is a gender bias. And, I think what was also really interesting is in 2014, a random group of 170 undergrad students, law students, watched a video of closing statements by lawyers in a court case. So, think of every law movie battle you've ever seen where it's the closing argument and the two litigators are going hardcore. And so the participants were asked to say whether the lawyer delivering that wrap-up statement was a strong verdict and where it would end, and rate the lawyer's competence.
Yeah.
And angry male litigators received the highest scores.
Of course they did.
But angry female litigators were actually given the lowest.
Yep.
So not just marked down a little bit, the two extremes of the spectrum.
None of this is surprising to me at this point.
Yeah. So I don't think it is the level of your tantrum. I think it's a, societal workplace,
expectation.
A feeling rule that
Yeah.
Women have to moderate their emotionality.
Yeah, because if a dude's ranting and raving, he's a badass. If a woman is ranting and raving, she's a bitch or a ball breaker.
Yeah, yeah. Especially around those three emotions, those three sort of feelings being displayed: anger, sadness, and frustration.
Yeah.
I thought that was really. We know it, but it's really frustrating. And I think one of the things to think through is, how are we self-measuring and self-monitoring ourselves so we're not showing up in those feelings either?
Oh, yeah, shit, yeah. Like, having to show up into an organisation and know that even if I'm feeling like a piece of fucking shit and do not want to be there, it's not... I can't show that outwardly also because it's not everyone else's fault that I feel like that. Like, why should I take it out on them? But there's definitely an expected level of expressed feeling that is okay in an office and not okay.
Yeah, so what's your take on that? Because we're talking about an office environment, but imagine, that's one type of workspace, but there are so many others. Like,
can you imagine on building site? I'm just thinking of like family friends that are builders. They put like a hammer through their toe and they start crying. I can't imagine that they'd live that one down very easily.
Yeah, so you're right. So even in those environments, there are these feeling rules around what's appropriate if you do hurt yourself. But unless we change it and we show up and feel our feelings and express them appropriately, how do we change the culture? Because we're just kind of buying into the rules.
I guess it's the what is appropriate, though. Yeah. I think is probably the big question there.
And I think you're right. I think that is the big question, because what was appropriate historically doesn't necessarily determine what's appropriate now or what's appropriate in the future. Yet we kind of just buy into it.
And especially if you've got multiple generations within a workforce now, right? Like you got your boomers, you got your X's, you got your millennials, you got your Gen Zers. So you got all four of them all expressing emotions in very different ways.
And different views of what's appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how do you... Especially if you're entering the workforce. Can you imagine being a Gen Zer walking into a workforce at the moment, no matter where you're working, and you've got boomers, Gen X and millennials above you, and they're all at different levels of like, suck it up, princess, and I've got anxiety, and all of the different things. How can you imagine how emotionally confronting that would be?
Yeah, because none of it's explicit.
No.
There's just like...
So these just like these unspoken rules that we've grown up with that we're now putting onto this group of people that we hang out with every day.
And Gen Z's reported to have lower EQ because they're a device generation. And so their ability to read subtle nuance in someone's emotional state by their body language or behaviour might be lost on them. So have you had a time, Kels, where you've seen people display emotion and it's led to a good... or display their feelings and it's led to a good outcome?
I honestly... A good outcome? I don't think I've ever seen someone, like, go to the extreme of an emotion and it lead to a good outcome. It's always been someone who has clearly articulated and communicated their feelings rather than the like being in the feeling has led to a good outcome. It's usually the opposite. When someone is in their feelings, it's usually a disaster. But I mean, Christ, you know me, I'm a crier. Loves a cry. Gets angry, cries. Gets frustrated, cries. Gets sad, cries. Is happy, cries. Like, just have a lot of tears in my face, ready to just escape.
Hence the need to continue the hydration.
Yeah. Gotta replace it. And so I think for me, being someone that knows that I can have 7 different emotions and all of them lead to crying, it can be quite confronting for someone on the other side of that crying because they're like, so crying equals bad. And that's just like the general rule. But for me, I could just be really like emotionally happy and just be like, oh, that's really sweet. Like last night with fucking Black Ferns winning. I was having a cry. I've just got lots of feelings.
So no examples of where it's gone that's worked well for you then?
Oh, nah, because I always just feel like a piece of shit after I've cried in front of someone at work.
So do you have a social rule that you've applied around showing feelings at work?
Oh, yeah. I think I've sort of grown up and been told that crying at work is not appropriate. And as a woman in the workforce who has many battles on a daily basis because I'm a woman in the workforce, adding to it by crying feels like I'm doing myself a disservice.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Have you had examples where people that worked with you or reported into you have cried?
Yes.
Have you applied that same level of judgment to them?
Oh, right. How do we get to therapy this fucking quickly?
I don't know. Sorry.
Jesus Christ. Yes, look, compassion, I get it, all the rest of it, blah, 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 blah. I think I get it when someone's overwhelmed and I can spot it and I can see it. And I think because I'm so like conscious of it in myself and know that I'm a crier, when someone else cries, I'm like, oh girl, that's nothing. Like, don't even worry about it. Like, I will sob you out of the competition. But I definitely have had people have various vulnerable moments.
Yeah.
I think, and it doesn't matter whether it's crying or not, but I think being able to express their emotions in a constructive way just makes it a bit easier to actually help someone when they're in that space.
Yeah. But it's relying on that person to let you know rather than their behaviour decline or their performance decline.
Yeah, because do you know what the worst one is? Is when someone is acting out, like acting in their feelings, but when you ask them what's going on, they go, no, it's fine.
It's fine. That works.
Everything is fine. And I'm like, every single cue that it is not fine is being shown except for your words. Like, every other cue. Please don't lie to me.
Yeah. Or maybe you need to work on your self-awareness.
Yeah. Or if you think that you're fine, we've got a bigger problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what about you? Have you had any, like, I don't know, emotional breakdowns happen to you at work?
Yeah, I had a big life moment happen to me at work when my dad died. So we've hit therapy. We're going to go deep into it.
Whew, yeah. Yes. Was there for that one?
Yeah. That for me was when you can be in your feelings and people really show up for you and it's a good outcome. Yeah. And I think when I was thinking about feelings at work, on an average day, I do have an expectation, no matter the context, that people are going to be respectful and professional depending on whatever their profession is.
Yeah.
Except for when life happens.
Yeah.
And the uncontrollable happens, because we're all humans who are just existing in these structured workplaces that don't matter when it comes down to it, because our humanness in our life is more important than work. And so in those moments, I think holding space for feelings is really important. And so, yeah, my experience was actually amazing. I worked with really incredible people and got a phone call to say that my dad had suffered a heart attack and was getting compressions, then a second phone call to say that he'd passed away. And oh, that's my turn to cry.
So many feelings. I just remember I was like, I'll get the tea.
Yeah, you brought me a peppermint tea.
And then Christine was like, I'll book the flights. So I was like, I'll get my car.
Tan got me tissues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like all of us just like kicked into action.
Yeah, it was amazing. And, you know, I was literally open plan office. I stood up and went, oh my fucking God. I just said that really loudly. Everyone looked at me. They could see in my face, because I was fully in my feelings, that something was wrong. And everyone just rallied. Like, I think I got bustled into a meeting room.
Yeah, I came from one end, Christine and Tan, we came from all directions, and we all went right in here.
Yeah, Brooke and Andrew, everyone was there, and everyone was amazing. And that for me was a moment of, yeah, I'm not someone who expresses my feelings a lot at work. Like, I definitely have a spectrum of emotionality at work, but I'm quite measured normally, apart from when I'm amped, and then I'm a cheerleader.
Super fucking excited.
Yeah. Then I need to calm the fuck down. But this for me was a really powerful moment in just being present and allowing others to help. So that was my big in my feelings moment at work, and great outcome. Like, I felt so supported, and, you know, within minutes the team around me had booked flights, figured out who was going to drive me to the airport, organised with my flatmate who was also travelling back to Christchurch to bring some clothes down for me. I felt very supported. All I had to do was sit on that plane and get myself to Christchurch. And so, yeah, that was a great example of not sucking it up. Like, imagine if I'd tried to be tough, or I'd removed myself because I felt embarrassed crying at work. Like, that would have been the worst outcome. That would have been shit. Like, I would have been having the most horrific moment of my life.
By myself.
Because I was at work and didn't want to be seen as someone who cries at work. I'm like, fuck that. You know, there's times when it is appropriate to cry if you are feeling overwhelmed, if things are tough.
I think that's the thing, right? Like, I have a real view of it that we are human beings that live our lives, and we choose to go to a workplace and invest our time and energy in something that we get value in personally.
Yeah.
And it's a payment for service situation when we go to work, but at the same time you could choose anything under the sun to do as a job. And so you can't just turn up at the front door and then suddenly you're a robot. That's not how life works. Life doesn't work like that. But I have worked with many people that believe works like that.
Yeah. Do you reckon that's an old school patriarchal view?
Yes, 100%. In my experiences with it, yes.
Yeah.
And I think if I can imagine in some workplaces or some professions where it is old school patriarchal, I can imagine that that's just bred into you all the way through. And I also think, you know, if you've been someone that's had to fight for a position in a workplace, and, you know, especially as a woman or someone that is LGBTQIA or whatever, someone that's had to fight for a place, I can imagine that you would probably be a little bit more restrictive on how you behave in the workplace because you've fought to get to the place where you are. But I've definitely found, like, older dudes have tended to be the ones that are, like, you know, you're a slave to that job.
Do you think so? Also, societally, they were brought up to suppress feelings anyway.
100%.
So they're acting out of what their social rules are when it comes to their feeling rules in their workplace.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think what's interesting too, though, is like, for some people aren't in their feelings. Like, some people are really logical, rational. Yeah. Left brain is quite structured in their thinking, and they will think before they feel. Other people will feel before they think. Yeah. And because
it's a standard Myers-Briggs profile right there, right?
It fucking is.
I, as a feeler.
What are you?
I'm an ENFP.
Oh, yeah, I'm an INFJ, but I'm about 50-50 on all of them. And I guess my work lens is normally how do we solve a problem, how do we move things forward. So I probably do lend myself when I'm going to work, especially under pressure at work, I will move more into thinking, I think. Yeah. It's also, you can pick up people's language, right?
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
definitely
totally.
someone who says I think more than I feel. Do you say I feel more than I think?
I think I say I think more than I feel. That really, fuck that, my brain had to work 10 times harder to figure that one out. Could you see it in my face?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see the cogs moving.
I have only recently though. I have tried to move it to a place where I'm giving my opinion or my thoughts rather than, because my feelings come from a place of, I don't know, fuck it, do it, go.
Yeah, similar to me, high risk profile. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Hence, we ended up in China.
I'm like, what could go wrong? Yeah, we'll fix it if it does.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, Melissa, do you want to come to China? Yes, cool. Straight on a plane.
Yeah.
No, I think it's definitely an interesting dynamic at work because you've got so many different types of what's okay, what's not okay with feelings, whether it's feeling happy. Like some places I've worked in where if you're excited about something or if you're like super stoked or happy, like I've had places where they shut you down and go, no, this will go wrong or this will happen. And I'm like, oh, okay, happiness is also not okay. What feelings are okay?
None. You must be beige.
None. I must just be angry all the time.
Yeah, or deadline, like just no emotion, like flat.
And look, hey, some professions might be like that, and that's absolutely okay, but that is not where I've chosen to spend my lifetime.
I think when I was thinking about that thinking versus feeling, and when it comes to how you manage your own feelings and others at work, I think when things go badly typically is when people stay in their reactionary red limbic reptilian brain. Something happens and they react.
Because it's easy.
Yeah, and it's pure unfiltered emotion. Yeah. And in the moment,
it's everyone else's problem.
Yeah. And I think, in the example of crises happening, of course you're going to be in that space.
Yeah.
But that's not, it's not a crisis if you don't win that account or if the piece of latest research you've done hasn't delivered the results you expected.
I fucking find crisis moments fascinating to watch watch things happen and see who reacts and does what and how like they click in, and depending on what the crisis is. Like I just remember in China.
Yeah.
Day 2, we'd literally on our first day going to school, one of the girls we were with cut her leg open quite deeply on a bent, mangled subway thing, and Melissa went, gross, no, I'll call someone.
Yeah, I managed the situation.
You managed the situation. You were like, next steps. You were future thinking.
Yeah, I was. I managed the process. And also, I don't do blood.
Yeah, you were just like, that's bleeding quite a lot.
Yeah, I'm out. And you were like, I've got this. I can help you. And you were like, went straight into like EMT mode. You were like, right, we need plasters, we need to clean the wound. And I was like, what the hell is happening?
I was like, Chris, tissues. Who's got Band-Aids?
Yeah, you were.
It was good. But like those moments where like people just kick into it and then you like take a step back later and you're like, oh, actually, okay. Yeah, I know my place in those moments.
Yeah.
And I think once you figure out what your skill set is in those moments, that's when you can use it to the best advantage.
Yeah.
And use your feelings to the best advantage for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in that example, like Chris just waited to be told what to do and you just took the charge. And I was like, well, Kelsey's taking charge, so there's no point having two people deciding what to do.
Yeah.
She's got that under control. I'll manage this other thing.
Yeah.
And it just worked.
Yeah.
But
isn't that so like so part of our personalities? Like, I'm here and now, let's do the thing now.
Yeah.
I'll fix it now. And you're like, what are the next 10 steps and how do I need to get us to the hospital?
Yeah. And then I went to the hospital and that's a whole nother talk.
Yeah. Trying to talk tetanus in Chinese when you don't speak the language, whole other skill set that you took care of that I didn't have to.
Google Translate. And that's probably an example of, managing your feelings in unexpected high pressure situations where I'm worried about the well-being of someone I really care about. I'm in an environment that's really unfamiliar. And I was like, oh, I'm really good at this actually. Like I'm really calm in a crisis because I am quite practical in those moments.
But don't you find you're calm in a crisis when it's about someone else?
Yeah, totally. Because I'm like, I can help you.
Yeah. I need to keep it together because I'm helping you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
Yeah. I definitely find that when it's about me, like even when I did my leg accident, everyone's got different versions of the story because it was at a party. But it was one of those ones where I didn't cry. I didn't cry until Jess called me at 8 o'clock the next morning. And she was like, I've just seen your Snapchat story. What the hell's going on? And I went, flying to her. But because everyone else was around me, I was like, no, I'm fine. Everything's okay. Like, it's okay. Someone just needs to get me to the hospital.
Yeah.
In my mind, that's how it went.
I'm sure it was.
I'm sure everyone else has a slightly different story. But hey, like, I was the one that got up and walked around on it and didn't realise until my foot felt wet. So I can't have been that bad.
So interestingly, even in that environment, you did manage it the same way you managed the China situation, as did I when I've had my horse riding accident or some recent health concerns. I don't really get dramatic or upset about it. I'm just like, I need to understand what's happening, and then I can readjust my life and let me just get my head around it.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone who gets caught up in the emotion of it.
Yeah. I feel as I've got older, I've taught myself ways of pulling myself out of the emotion of things. So even in competition or in stressful work moments, like, this is therapy coming through. Really being able to notice when I am elevating, when I'm starting to vibrate on quite a high level and going, no, take 3 big deep breaths, bring it back down. Right, now let's focus on the problem. Right, move it forward this way. Because, I mean, in my 20s, I would have just been flapping.
You're right. So those skills are learned skills.
100%. And it's something that you have to learn to spot when you are in a high state of emotion and learn your triggers and learn the way to bring yourself back down.
Yeah, Dr. Kerry Evans, who's a local from Otatahi and a high-performance specialist previously working with the All Blacks, he's written a really good book, and he talks about your red brain and your blue brain and how he works with elite athletes like goal kickers and rugby games in particular on how to manage their emotional state, because they can't perform at their best until they get themselves into a measured space. And I think those skills, learning those is so valuable. So valuable.
Even in, like I had a situation a week or two ago where I've been out doing a whole lot of stuff and I come back and I was amped and I was up because I've been talking to people, and then I got back to the office and everyone was chill. And I was like, oh, I am 10 times too high to be here.
I think Melissa and margaritas right now.
Yeah. I was like, I am operating I'm on a 10 and I need to bring it down to a 3. But being able to sit there, and in that moment I could not bring myself out of it. So I had to take myself home.
Yeah.
But being able to spot that is really fucking important, because I think it was when we were working together, I was in my early 20s and mornings were not my favourite time of the day.
Oh, I've never noticed this.
Never. I think I had like a coffee cup that was like, don't speak to me until I've had my coffee, like one of those awful fucking ones. Anyway, and I was bringing that attitude into the office, and my boss at the time just went, hi, it's not everyone else's fault that you don't like mornings. And I went, yeah, no, it's not. Just because I am shit at waking up doesn't mean I have to make it everyone else's problem. And my attitude walking into the office I can still have my feelings, but as long as it's not actually impacting other people in a way that makes them uncomfortable is probably a very important thing to remember.
Yeah, I really like that, because there's this piece there around owning how you are feeling, but making a choice around, how that shows up at work, because like you say, the consequence is actually people's perceptions of you would probably change, and your ability, you might not get invited into projects or opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Is it's not just about what's appropriate at work; it's what is. You catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, right? Like,
thanks, Nina. That's a great old school saying.
Excuse you. Don't be fucking rude.
Yeah, it says me with bloody old.
Yeah, I was like, fucking your Botans chat and you fucking cute old ginger cat and you fucking old lady wanders.
So proud of my garden this year.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. But I think you do end up making a reputation for yourself that's not necessarily conducive to where you want your career to go to. And so your feelings and how you use your feelings can affect how you move forward in your job.
Yeah, so true. And how you display them. Like, early in my career, I definitely got a lot of feedback about my non-verbal communication.
What? Like, you could tell that you didn't like an idea because it was written all over your face.
Yeah, or I thought the person was an idiot, or I didn't want to do it. Like, it was just like instant, visible, no, thank you. But luckily, again, great leaders, great colleagues that gave me that feedback directly in real time, so I could adjust that behaviour. So similar to your example, and I think, it was, the person was like, I don't need to know what you feel or think. You don't need you to tell me because I can see it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, actually communication is not just verbal.
Yeah. Do you know what? One skill that I've really tried to hone over the last few years, almost accidentally, has been when I've been in meetings and we've been discussing things and I've put a solution on the table, or I've put, am I understanding this correctly on the table? And someone comes back and goes, yep, but has a scowl on their face, or like you can just tell they're not saying something, and I'm like, I've just started to say, are you sure? Now's your opportunity to tell me if it's not, because your face is telling me a different story. And most people are really, really good when you actually call them out on it. They just almost need that permission to express that thought.
Yeah, you're so right. Like, it's an invitation rather than a social norm, right? So there's an expectation, like there's a feeling rule that is, I should be on board with this.
Yeah.
But their face is like, I'm fucking not.
Yeah. Yeah, or the passive-aggressive emails. You know, when you get those awful emails, I pick up the phone. I'm just like, hi, it's just going to be easy to talk about this. So what's going on? What's the problem?
Yeah, I think that's why I'd rather, if I had to choose between passive-aggressive and directly aggressive, I would probably take directly aggressive.
100%. Because you can understand what the problem is and you can then move forward.
Yeah.
Rather than it becoming this thing that festers and takes over. And I'm just like, I haven't got time for it. Yeah. I'm a busy fucking human being. If you cannot express your emotions to me like a fucking adult, fuck off and tell someone else.
Yeah. I can't remember if I shared it as one of my tweets about a lady who said that she now only takes what people tell her is the truth. So if people choose not to tell her, then that's their problem, not hers.
Yeah.
I was like, I actually really like that.
That's people-pleasing recovery 101. Welcome to it. Welcome back to therapy. Yeah. You have to, like, that was one of the biggest
I say
things.
this at work. This is not how I behave with my family.
But it's so much harder with family. So, like, we all revert to our 16-year-old self when we're with family. At least at work we can pretend like we're adults.
Yeah, and then we have some control.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is that situation where you can only help and you can only react to the things that are known. And when issues happen, it's because someone has got a feeling that they are expressing to you through all of their other types of communication, but their words. And it's really hard being on the receiving end of that when it's completely incongruent with the words that are coming out of their mouths.
Yeah.
And we all need to be more conscious of that so that we can work better.
And that's where those skills around good leadership absolutely is heavily weighted in good emotional intelligence, like learning how to read other people and be brave enough to have those conversations. Because unless you're able to ask that question like you did, some people probably need permission to express their feelings, because they do have some feeling rules that say, oh, I'm here to do a job and this person's my boss, or they're more senior, or it's their idea, so I just have to go, whatever their feeling rule is, or the culture at that workplace might be. Making sure that you as a leader are actually picking up on that and asking people.
I had a really cool situation with someone that I was working with where bunch of change happening, and they went, I need you to just give me a little bit of time to get used to these conversations that we're having, because in my old workplace I couldn't have these conversations, I couldn't have these emotions, I couldn't have these feelings, everything had to be hidden. And the difference to change your whole perception and change the whole way you work when you've been taught one way.
Yeah. So that someone's changed their feeling rules and they've got to work a new game and to figure out how to play it.
So not only are you, I think one thing to think of if you're going into a new workplace is you're not just learning a new role, you're learning a whole new way of working that's completely unwritten, and people often don't even understand what it is in the first place to be able to explain it.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. And if you're leading in an organisation, think about what you set as the feeling rules and how you behave. Because I would say arguably in my career, I worked in a male-dominated engineering organisation, so I got really good at being unemotive.
Yeah.
Which was what helped you win in that environment.
Or especially as a woman in that environment, I can imagine any emotion was used against you.
Yeah, and often by clients, I was 26 dealing with, multi-million-dollar clients that were men in their 50s, and so I had to be calm under pressure and unemotive and, just there was an expectation of how to behave. Yeah. And so I got really good at that. Now as a founder and as a podcast host, I'm like, fuck this, fuck that. Like I'm my whole self, there's a lot of stories that we share here that I go, oh my God, my 26-year-old self would be horrified to think I'm so open with my true thoughts and feelings on things. Yeah. Because that was not the way it was done. And I think I learned that by observing, not through choosing that.
And that's the thing, right, is we learn through observation, but we're not necessarily observing the true emotions behind what is put out into the world by the people that we're observing. Yeah. And so we kind of fill in the blanks, and it might not necessarily be the right blanks to fill in.
Yeah, and I think we need to change it. I don't know anyone that would say they feel like they can truly be themselves at work in every workplace they've ever been in. Most people have some scenarios where it was great, but most of us will have experiences where it was okay. Yes, I thrived at that chapter, but I feel differently now. I don't know anyone that would be like, every place I've ever worked, I felt like I could be my full self. I think we do hold things back. Yeah. And, I think what was really interesting is, I mentioned at the start about the gender disparity around perception of feelings. There's also an ethnic disparity, and there was some research done by Stephanie Ortiz, a sociology professor. She said analysis revealed white workers who displayed anger in front of administrators on behalf of students were seen as having passion for their work, but staff members of colour were seen as radical and not viewed as team players when they expressed anger over microaggressions or prejudice on behalf of students. Yeah. So again,
it's the angry black woman trope, right?
Yeah,
just fucking stupid stereotypes that fuck people up.
Yeah, and so the unconscious bias and internalized racism often mean that people of colour, when they express their emotions, especially in majority white spaces, are seen as more threatening than similar emotions from white workers. And so if we're not challenging this, and if we're leading organisations or having an impact on our team's culture, if we're not challenging these biases, we're not creating a safe space for anyone, and we're just playing by a historic system that's been built up by new people joining, reading between the lines, interpreting what these feeling rules are, and playing the game. And so, I think it's about we all need to make a choice about what our preference is. If we like that environment, that's great. If we don't like that environment and we want to cry at work, fucking cry at work. Yeah. If you are feeling amped because something amazing's happened, find the other colleagues that love a good reason to celebrate and connect with them and share your good story. And then eventually that will start to change a culture.
And I think, when you're changing a culture, or when you're looking at feelings within a team, you have to do it in a way, you can't just be like, right, everyone can cry now.
I mean, you could.
I mean, you can announce it, but also at the same time, it's all of those, all the rest of your communication cues, all of your unspoken things are the things that really make it okay in an organisation. Because I've seen people go, it's absolutely okay to cry, and then if someone cries, they're fucking running the opposite direction,
or they're bitching about that person,
having a cry.
Yeah,
I'm just like, if you have to absolutely see it through, and if it is okay to cry at work, then, and Matt, like I said, I'm a crier.
Yeah.
And once that train starts, I ain't stopping.
I think too, it's the narrative that people have, that filling in the blanks, that perception of things. I was just thinking about, I worked at a place here in Christchurch out near the airport, and I had a meeting with one of my team, and she was crying, and everyone thought she was in trouble.
Yeah.
I was telling her that I thought she'd done an amazing job and I was really impressed with her work, and we were talking through some recent work that she's done, and she was talking about some health issues and I was talking about how we could support her through that, and it was actually a really great conversation.
Yeah.
And after that, she was really worked up. So I said to her, why don't you just finish the afternoon working from home? So she left. Everyone thought...
You'd fired her.
Yeah, like they thought that shit had gone down. I'd kicked her hard and she was in tears because I was such a bitch. And it was only when I sort of heard the underhand comments like, oh, God, that must have been really bad. And I was like, why do we assume someone crying is bad?
Well, that's it, right? Is that there are 100,000 different reasons why someone might start crying. And like for me, it's when my brain just doesn't connect to my mouth quick enough.
It comes out your eyeballs.
So it just comes out my eyeballs. And I just get overwhelmed. And it's like it's like this wall comes up in front of my eyes. And then suddenly the brain doesn't connect to the mouth anymore. And then just waterfalls come out my eyes. And that tends to be the standard, just normal. But because of that, it means that when the other people cry, I'm like, oh, I get it. Fair enough. Can I cry with you? If you're crying, I'm probably going to cry. But then other people that haven't been exposed to that or haven't ever experienced that level of feeling probably are just like, oh my God, crying means sadness. Oh my God, who died?
Yeah, exactly. My friend, and one of my really good friends in Sydney, she's a crier and unapologetic about it. She has very high EQ and she's always been in senior organisations in engineering or finance. So she's been able to shape and change culture because she's unapologetic about being a crier.
Yeah.
And she'll be sitting in, senior exec meetings and she'll be really excited about the work they've done having a really good impact on the workforce and creating change. And she'll just be in tears because she's so excited. And she has this amazing ability to be crying and still communicate beautifully.
Yeah.
So it's almost like her eyes are leaking, but the delivery does not get changed. Yeah. And I love that. And she's unapologetic about it. And I think she's someone who, she similar to you, experiences a range of feelings and shows that through crying.
I can watch a fucking advert and end up in tears.
I'm that person on a rom-com or a cute puppy moment, like definitely in those moments. But for some reason at work, I don't know, I'm a bit. Maybe I'm.
You've been trained in engineering and.
Oh no, I think I've been trained with a crazy family. So I got really good at being just like I'll just manage everyone else first, and I'll just make sure everything's okay.
And I'll deal with my emotions later.
Yeah, I'll deal with my emotions. This is why I live by myself.
Also not healthy.
Yeah, but I also have a therapist.
Yeah,
and I'm very self-aware. So on that note, so wrap up from you, Kels. Any key points?
I think empathy for people's feelings and how they express feelings is needed in the workplace, no matter where you work. But I also think if you are in a place or in a position of leadership or management, you have a really key job to do with setting the expectation of what's okay and what's not okay with how your team can manage their emotions at work. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be like, no crying.
Or everyone can cry now.
or everyone can cry now. But it has to be something where you are actually saying, no, that's not okay. Or, yes, absolutely go for gold. And just fucking have a bit of fucking empathy because no one's a goddamn robot. That's my takeaway. What's yours?
That context is really important, and at times it is really appropriate to be in your feelings, and other times it's not. And so having that, working on your emotional intelligence and ability to read a room and look after yourself is really important, because if you can't look after yourself, then how can you show empathy to others? So for me, that's really important. And I'd read this quote by Mark Twain, and I loved this because I think we can have all the theory in the world. We can talk about this as much as we like around what you should do and all of that, but I also think in the moment, if you've got a strong feeling, leaning into it is actually really important, whether that's a creative urge or you're suffering the loss of a loved one. And so Mark Twain says, we regret the things we don't do more than the things we do. So if you feel like you were in your feelings and you said the wrong thing, that's better than saying nothing and having to swallow your words and feeling like you should have spoken up. So that's it from me.
Okay.
So to finish this off. Tweet of the week. Well, maybe I'll need to change this because the shit show that is Twitter right now, I'm not sure. I'm not sure we're going to carry this bit on.
Yeah, we'll see how old Elon goes for a little bit. Yeah.
2023 might bring a different vibe.
Yeah.
So my tweet of the week is from Darren Matthews, and he said, if you don't know the answer to a question, do not beat around the bush. There is absolutely nothing wrong with saying, I don't know. And that is a quote from Charmaine J. Ford. And I think a lot of people's anger comes from a place of insecurity. And so for me, I was like, yeah, imagine if we could just wind back some of the anger as a dominant feeling in a lot of workplaces by just going, I don't need to bluster and bullshit my way through this. I actually just don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, what about you, Kels? What's your TikTok?
Mine is all... So we all, majority of us will have seen the Meghan Trainor song, what's it called? Made You Look?
Yes.
On TikTok, on everywhere. My favourite one is this parody by Louis Hansen about sort of general anxiety, really.
I could lock my car and door. Tell myself that I'm super sure, but even when I am sure, I'll go back and look.
And Kelsie, is this why you have security cameras, that you can check these things out?
Look, I move through life at a pace where I need to make sure that my hair straighteners have an automatic turn off, and I double check. It's just part of my life.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for listening in. We do release these episodes regularly wherever you get your podcasts. So please subscribe, rate and like us on all the channels. We do love questions, stories and topic ideas. So please send them our way. So until next time, get out there, back yourself and feel all the feels.